bringing it on you today. You will be getting, if you get the newsletter, you'll get it in the newsletter too. But this is called the Program for Unexpected Income at Unity of Des Moines. And I'm not going to spend too long on it, but I got these flyers at the back on the red table at the back if you want. But here's the deal. This is a really awesome way to practice tithing, to experiment, as it were. There's a lovely quote by Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, about the law of giving and receiving. And this is a really fun way to practice giving and receiving, in balance. On the back of the page, this is how it works. We're going to, if you want to do this, you commit to the program for the summer. And the way you do it is you sign the agreement. You sign this and keep this for yourself, but there's a clipboard, and you can sign that and date it, and then you sign the agreement, and then you begin and end your day with the prosperity prayer that's right here, and we're going to say it together. We may or may say that together. And then you allow Spirit within you to expand your increased good. And then you share the increase in the form of a 10% tithe to Unity of Des Moines. So this is just unexpected income. The unexpected income means any increase of money over and above any current normal income. See, so this is a great way to play with the spiritual principle, to say it's kind of risk-free in a way, because you're saying unexpected income. I am going to experiment with signing something, saying this prayer, and tithing 10%. Now, there's a beautiful story about the Sea of Jordan and the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is dead because water comes into the Dead Sea and it doesn't go out, and it's all salty and dead. And then there's the Sea of Jordan, which is alive because water goes in and water goes out. And that is a lot like giving and receiving. I know it's true for me. So if you're interested in that, let's just start by together. I think it's on the back, but not on the front, honey. Oh, there we go. We'll say this. Let's just say this prayer together. Here we go. I believe that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I believe that my good is now flowing to me so richly and so fully that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I believe that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. These words, which I now speak in faith, activate a law of universal good, and I accept the results. I bless all the good that is with me now. I bless the increase. I bless all of the others in the unexpected income program. And I know that now we prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good. So that's it in a nutshell. Feel free to join in. The other fun thing is that whenever you do this program, people get to share stories that are amazing. Do you already have a story to share? Okay, well, you sign up right now. That's cool, and thank you for talking loud enough that I could hear you. So anyway, if you feel like doing that, I think it's going to be fun. I know I'm looking forward to it. I could really go for some unexpected income. And here's something else I want to do to start my talk with. I have a vision of our community, and I have a very specific vision that I want you to hold with me, and that is 100 people in this room. There's something about the 100 people in the room that's cosmically important. So every Sunday, and whenever you think of it, I want you, along with me, to visualize 100 people in these chairs. There are enough chairs right now for 100 people to sit in the room. And I want you to just with me, we're gonna think of 100 people right here in these chairs, 100 strong. I have a vision of a strong, compassionate community, a place where we are ultimately our true selves and here for each other. So that's the affirmation that goes with that. So 100 strong, just get that with me. And let me tell you why I picked 100. I picked 100 because actually 100 is a good amount of people for this room. 100 people are in the room, it feels alive and great, And the other thing is when there's 100 people in the room, when newcomers come in, that it's just a little bit easier to connect, to find someone who's in your mini group, in your subgroup. So that's why we're also going for 100. So I'm going to do everything I can this summer, and if you're interested in helping me in any way, just let me know. And interestingly enough, it goes right with today's quote. Continuing on with the Gospel of Q, which is, as many scholars say, they have determined that the Gospel of Q is most likely the words that we can trace to this person called Jesus, that teacher Jesus. And part of the interesting way they picked it was because these statements were not in general floating around the community at the time. And one of these is, leave the dead to bury their dead. That's Luke 9:60. And I want to talk about how this quote is really all about life. There's a little bit of Bible interpretation based on first century Jewish burial practices, like leave the dead to bury their dead. What does that mean? Does that mean, when somebody dies, you just don't care if your father dies? Various assorted theologians have come up with a few theories. One of them is an interpretation that is consistent with first century Jewish burial practices. After a body was placed in a burial cave, it was left to decompose. The family mourned for 7 days. This initial mourning period was followed by a less intense 30-day period of mourning called, if I say it right, shloshim. Is that right, Mark? Do you know? I don't know. He's my Jewish expert. However, the entire mourning period was not fully over until the flesh of the deceased had decomposed, usually about a year later. The Jerusalem Talmud states, when the flesh had wasted away, the bones were collected and placed in chests. On that day, the son mourned, but the following day he was glad because his forebears rested from judgment. In the scripture, the disciples' request and Jesus' response makes good sense in light of the Jewish custom of secondary burial. When the disciples requested time to bury their fathers, they were actually asking for time to finish the rite of secondary burial. Their father had died, been placed in the family burial cave, and the sons had sat Shiva and most likely Shloshim. They had requested anywhere from a few weeks up to 11 months to finish the ritual. Jesus' sharp answer also fits well with the secondary burial. The fathers had been buried. Their bodies were decomposing. In the tombs, along with the fathers, were other family members who had died, some awaiting secondary burial, others already in their ossuaries, the place for the bones. When Jesus stated, let the dead bury their own dead, he was referring to two different kinds of dead in the tomb. The bones of the deceased, which had already been neatly placed in ossuaries, and the fathers who had yet to be reburied. The phrase own dead indicates that the fathers were included among the dead. Okay, maybe not. It's always interesting to go back to what people might mean, 2,000 years ago, because, as I've often said, we don't really know. And maybe it was that case, that it wasn't as harsh as leave the dead to bury their dead. Mind you, leave your dead to bury the dead has some really great metaphysical meaning. So let's play with this a little bit in some metaphysics. Traditional unity metaphysics means you're just looking for a meaning that is beyond the physical, right? Metaphysics beyond the physical. And there is not a list of meanings that one thing means this thing every time. The most important way to do metaphysics is to give the meaning to the scripture. But in this case, a classic meaning in unity for dead is an old thought, a thought that no longer serves us. The dead. Give your thoughts that no longer serve you to the rest, to the rest of the things that no longer serve you. So the dead to bury their dead. But let's have more fun than that. We can have a lot of fun with this. Now, the way that I learned to take Scripture to a deeper level was to use the metaphysics and to use the maieutic method, which is really just asking questions. But so taking the story, go ahead and think about, there's a tomb. It's dry and in the desert, so it's not icky, okay? There's a tomb in the desert, and there's various levels of human beings that their body, which is just the physical, is slowly returning back to the earth. Okay, let's think of that. So here's some ideas. What is your dead? What are you hanging around with and burying that might be taking some energy away from life? What in your life is decomposing? What in your life is pulling you to take care of it? What tradition is pulling you that you'd rather let go of? What is authentically calling you? What siren song, like following Jesus, is coming second when it possibly needs to come first? What needs to decompose on its own? Well, sometimes I hand out questions and let you fill them out. I'll post it on our Facebook page, the questions, if you want to get to them. But I thought I would do this metaphysics using my relationship and our community. So it's definitely personal for me, but I thought I would take this scripture and do some metaphysical maieutic exploration with our community and with unity in our community to see, because since I'm really so focused on, I have such a strong vision of 100, so what's keeping me from 100? What's in the way? So what is your dead? I thought, well, that's the old idea of church. Any old idea of church that doesn't serve me. This is, for me, the dead. What am I hanging around with and burying that might be taking energy away from life? Oh, this one hits home. The story of not enough. The story of not enough. That story has haunted me since I was one of 8 kids. Not enough. There's not quite enough to go around. And it's not like I spend most of my time in not enough. Now, quite frankly, I'm happy to say I spend most of my time in wow, more than enough, But still, the point of this is to look for what's not working, look for what isn't the Christ, right? So, and when thinking about our church community, okay, how is that story in me, outplaying the story of not enough? Let's let go of that story. What in your life is decomposing? Here's what's decomposing. Not enough help, not enough money. What is pulling me to take care of? Whoa, well, this is the good part. What is pulling me to take care of in the community? The new PR, public relations stuff we're doing, new community, new people coming in, authenticity, life, growth, children, Sunday school, teen programs, all these things that are happening, and some of them are more than happening, they're going on, and some of them are, stopping and starting, like the teen program, but some of them are totally coming to us in the future. What tradition is pulling you that you'd rather let go of? I have this thing I called unity hidebound ideas, and I think I'm actually talking about unity, the overall denomination, and sometimes there are people who, it's interesting, our name is Unity, but there's actually some factions in Unity. It's like, we're just human beings. So there does tend to be a certain alignment of people who feel that Unity should go back to just teaching the Fillmores and not teach anything else. And it's definitely not my thing. So that to me is an old, that's a tradition I'd rather let go of. And most of us in Unity are letting go of that. What is authentically calling you, or in this case, me? What's authentically calling me is being a spiritual teacher, spending more time with my spiritual teaching and being creative. Maybe less time doing administrative stuff and more time enjoying the spiritual teaching. That's what gets me going in the morning, and spending time on the talk is always joyful to me. Spending time teaching a class is awesome to me. Spending time being creative in any way, when I write the newsletter, that's creative to me, and if I take photographs and send that out on the Daily Burst, that makes me happy. And even though it was hard on Roland, hanging this art in the room made me really happy. Anything creative just is calling me authentically. What siren song, like Following Jesus, is coming second when it possibly needs to come first? Living from the inside out. That's what I came up with. Being an inspiration. Really just doing what makes my heart sing. What needs to decompose on its own? Here's what needs to decompose on its own. The things that I do when I feel any resentment about doing them. Anytime I think I need to do something, and it's always complicated, right, in your own head. Don't you have a list of things? It's not like there's somebody standing over us most of the time telling us what to do. Pretty much we make up our own lists, and we are our own parent or whatever, or taskmaster. Let's say it like that. We are our own taskmaster. And so it's really important for me to pay attention to the things I resent or resist. Doesn't mean I shouldn't do them, and I really have worked out this system that that once I commit to it, I do it. But I really want to notice if I'm having any resentment and look at it. I need to change something. I either need to change my attitude, or I need to change doing it, or I need to get some help. There's any number of ways to change it. But doing something while I'm feeling resentful is like hanging out in the crypt with the dead bodies. Do not need to do that. So, there is this phrase that I've had on my list. I like to have lists of things to do. And this phrase says, when we power through the junk, and there might be a different word than junk, when we power through the crap, when we power through the junk, we are wearing down the internal self instead of changing any energy. Okay, when we power through the junk, we are wearing down the internal self instead of changing energy, okay? When you shove yourself through something without paying attention, you are actually depleting. It's like envision right now the last science fiction movie you saw where somebody was whole, and then maybe they transported or whatever. So I know you've all seen this. So here's a whole body, and then all of a sudden bits of them are disappearing. Bits, they're disintegrating, and then they're gone. Okay? That is what we are doing to ourselves when we power through the stuff without awareness. It doesn't mean we shouldn't go through it, but it means when you shove yourself through without paying attention, we don't, that's when we're missing the huge gift that's in it. The huge gift of changing the energy, right? Changing the energy. So let's do this. It's all of us. I hope that some of you will leave the dead to bury their dead. Take that phrase and work with it a little bit. If you want to work with it in a journal or even just sit in the silence with it and find out what some of your dead bodies are trying to tell you. And I hope that you enjoy that, and please tell me all about it, because other people's dead bodies are way more fun to listen to than mine. And then let's end with this. Let's just think about how wonderful it is to change the energy, and think about 100 strong, right here, right now, 100 strong. And I just told you to do that visualization of a body disintegrating. Now I want you to do the visualization of your body integrating, okay? So here you are standing, sitting, and instead of things going away from you, everything good is coming into you. Spirit is just creating you in this minute, all the energy that you need from everywhere, from in you and out you and outside of you and all around you, is creating this being of light that's fully present and wholly there. All right. Got it? Okay, now there's 100 of those people in here. Wow. All right, let's take an offering for unity.